The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than most cities on Earth. Ships from 12 different alien species were docked to its metal arms like insects on a giant flower. Today was the day the Galactic Council would finally end the war with humanity. Inside the main council chamber, alien representatives talked excitedly among themselves. The room was huge, with seats arranged in a circle around a central platform. Each species had their own section with special atmosphere controls. The Vorthak delegation sat in the place of honor, their purple skin gleaming under the bright lights. They had started this war 3 years ago, and they expected to finish it today. Supreme Chancellor Crix of the Vorthak Empire stood tall on his 6 legs. His forearms gestured dramatically as he spoke to his allies. "Today we crush the human spirit forever," he said in his buzzing voice. "They will accept our terms or face complete destruction." The other alien leaders nodded in agreement. The Zalani ambassador with her blue crystalline skin smiled coldly. "Humans are still young in space," she said. "They need to learn their place in the galaxy." Ambassador Vect of the Thorian Republic tapped his claws on his armrest. "Their colonies are cut off from Earth. Their fleets are scattered. They have no choice but to surrender." The aliens had good reason to feel confident. For 3 years, they had pushed human forces back system after system. Human colonies had been abandoned. Human ships had been destroyed in desperate battles. The humans seemed to win small victories here and there, but they always cost them more than they could afford. Captain Lee Dae-ho walked slowly through the corridors of Nexus Prime. He wore a simple gray uniform with few decorations. His face showed no emotion as alien guards watched him pass. Behind him walked 2 other humans. Ambassador Park So-min was a small woman with sharp eyes. She carried herself with quiet dignity despite being surrounded by enemies. Dr. Kim Tae-woo was older, with gray hair and thick glasses. He looked more like a teacher than a warrior. The human delegation was tiny compared to the alien groups. Most species had brought dozens of advisors and guards. The humans had brought only 3 people. This made the aliens even more confident. Surely such a small group meant humanity was ready to give up. "Look at them," whispered a Kaloran diplomat to his companion. "So few, so quiet. They know they have lost." The 3 humans entered the council chamber. The talking stopped as all eyes turned to them. The chamber was designed to make visitors feel small and powerless. It worked on most species, but Park So-min walked to the human section with steady steps. Her face showed no fear. Supreme Chancellor Crix rose to his full height. He was nearly 3 meters tall, and his voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans of Earth," he began, "you have fought bravely, but the time for fighting is over. We offer you terms that will save your species from destruction." The other aliens leaned forward. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Some were already thinking about which human worlds they would claim for themselves. Crix continued his speech. "You will withdraw from all contested star systems immediately. Your military will be limited to system defense only. You will share all your technology with the Galactic Council. In return, we will allow your species to survive as junior members of galactic civilization." The terms were harsh but not unexpected. The aliens had discussed them for weeks. They thought they were being generous by not demanding total slavery. "Furthermore," Crix added, "human expansion beyond your current borders is forbidden. You will accept council oversight of all your activities. Your trade will be controlled by council regulations." Dr. Kim Tae-woo wrote notes on a small tablet. He showed no reaction to the terms. Captain Lee Dae-ho sat perfectly still, his hands folded in his lap. Only Ambassador Park So-min seemed to be listening carefully to every word. The Vorthak leader finished reading the terms and looked at the human delegation. "These terms are final," he said. "You have 1 standard day to accept them. If you refuse, the war continues until your species is extinct." The chamber fell silent. All the aliens waited for the human response. Some expected immediate acceptance. Others thought the humans might try to negotiate for slightly better terms. None expected what actually happened. Park So-min stood slowly. She looked small and fragile compared to the massive aliens around her, but when she spoke, her voice was clear and calm. "Thank you for presenting these terms," she said. "The human delegation requests a 24-hour recess to properly consider your generous offer." The aliens looked confused. This was not what they expected. Most conquered species either surrendered immediately or made desperate pleas for mercy. The humans seemed almost professional about the whole thing. Crix's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "You wish to delay the inevitable?" he asked. "Not delay," Park So-min replied. "Consider. Such important decisions require careful thought. Surely the Galactic Council can wait one day for humanity's final answer." The alien leaders talked among themselves in whispers. Some thought the humans were trying to buy time to prepare a desperate last attack. Others believed they were simply following their strange diplomatic customs. Most agreed that one more day would not matter. The outcome was already decided. "Very well," Crix announced. "You have one day. When we meet again tomorrow, you will give us your answer. We expect it to be acceptance of our terms." The human delegation stood and bowed politely. They left the chamber without another word. The aliens watched them go with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. As soon as the humans were gone, the real discussion began. The Vorthak and their allies started dividing up human territory. The Zilani wanted the mining colonies. The Thorians claimed the agricultural worlds. Everyone wanted a piece of human space. "Their technology is primitive but interesting," said one Kaloran scientist. "We can study their computer systems." "Their military tactics are crude but occasionally clever," added a Thorian general. "Some of their strategies might be useful against other enemies." Supreme Chancellor Crix listened to the discussions with satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. Humanity would surrender tomorrow and the galaxy would finally be at peace under proper leadership. Outside the station, a few human ships waited at a safe distance. They were small and looked damaged from recent battles. The aliens paid them little attention. What threat could such tiny vessels pose to the mighty council fleet? But if they had looked more carefully, they might have noticed something strange. The human ships were positioned in a very specific pattern. They were not random survivors of a beaten fleet. They were guards, watching and waiting. Inside one of those ships, Admiral Choi Byung-ho studied reports from across human space. The news was not what the aliens expected. It was not what anyone expected. Tomorrow, the Galactic Council would learn that they had made a terrible mistake about humanity. Tomorrow, everything would change. The next morning came quickly aboard Nexus Prime. The alien representatives gathered in the council chamber earlier than usual. Many had spent the night celebrating what they thought would be humanity's surrender. The Vorthak delegation arrived wearing ceremonial armor, ready to accept human submission with proper dignity. Supreme Chancellor Crix took his place at the center of the chamber. Around him, the other alien leaders settled into their seats with satisfied expressions. Today would mark the end of human resistance and the beginning of a new order in the galaxy. "Has anyone heard from the human ships?" asked Ambassador Vecht of the Thorians. "They have been very quiet since yesterday." A Zilani communications officer checked his instruments. "Their vessels remain at the designated coordinates. No unusual activity detected." The aliens nodded among themselves. This confirmed their belief that humanity was preparing to surrender. What else could explain such calm behavior from a defeated enemy? At exactly the appointed time, the chamber doors opened. The 3 humans entered just as they had the day before. Captain Lee Dae-ho, Ambassador Park So-min, and Dr. Kim Tae-woo walked to their section with the same quiet dignity. But something was different about them today. Park So-min carried herself with a new kind of confidence. Her steps were more certain, her posture straighter. Dr. Kim Tae-woo had replaced his thick glasses with a newer pair, and he carried a different tablet. Captain Lee Dae-ho looked exactly the same, but there was something in his eyes that had not been there yesterday. The aliens noticed these small changes but dismissed them. Probably the humans had spent the night accepting their fate and preparing for a dignified surrender. Supreme Chancellor Crix stood and spread his 4 arms wide. "Welcome back, humans of Earth. Have you considered our generous terms?" "We have," Park So-min replied. She stood and faced the alien assembly without any sign of fear or submission. "The human government has carefully reviewed your proposal." The chamber fell silent. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. Some aliens had already prepared victory speeches. Others were planning celebration ceremonies. "And what is your answer?" Crix asked, though he thought he already knew. Park So-min looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of alien leaders from 12 different species. When she spoke, her voice was clear and steady. "The answer is no." The simple word hit the chamber like a physical blow. For several seconds, no one spoke. The alien stared at the small human woman as if she had spoken in an unknown language. Finally, Crix found his voice. "No," he repeated. "You refuse our terms?" "We refuse all your terms," Park So-min confirmed. "Humanity will not withdraw from any star system. We will not limit our military. We will not share our technology. We will not accept council oversight." A wave of shocked whispers ran through the alien delegations. This was not possible. Defeated enemies did not refuse surrender terms. It went against every rule of galactic warfare. Ambassador Vecht stood angrily. "You cannot refuse," he shouted. "You are beaten. Your fleets are destroyed. Your colonies are cut off." Dr. Kim Tae-woo looked up from his tablet and spoke for the first time. "I am afraid your information is not correct," he said in a calm, professorial voice. "Our fleets are not destroyed. Our colonies are not cut off." "Impossible," screeched the Zilani ambassador. "We have battle reports. We have confirmed victories." Captain Lee Dae-ho finally spoke. His voice was quiet, but it carried clearly through the chamber. "You have reports of what we wanted you to see." The meaning of his words slowly sank in. The aliens began to look worried for the first time since the war began. Park So-min activated a holographic projector. Images appeared in the air above the central platform. The aliens recognized them as star charts showing human territory, but something was wrong with the data. "For 3 years," Park So-min explained, "you have been fighting what you thought was the human military. You celebrated victories against our fleets. You claimed our colonies. You believed you were winning a war." The holographic display changed, showing new information. Systems that the aliens thought they controlled were marked in human colors. Fleets that were supposed to be destroyed appeared on the tactical display. "You were not fighting our real military," Park So-min continued. "You were fighting our training forces. Every battle you won was a lesson for us. Every tactic you used was studied and countered. Every victory you celebrated made us stronger." Dr. Kim Tae-woo stood and activated his own tablet. New holograms appeared, showing detailed analysis of alien military strategies. "We have complete psychological profiles of every species in this room," he said. "We know how you think, how you fight, how you make decisions." "Impossible," whispered a Kaloran general. "Our communication systems are secure." "Your systems are adequate," Dr. Kim Tae-woo agreed. "But they were designed to keep out other aliens, not humans. We think differently than you do. We found ways in that you never considered." The chamber erupted in angry voices as alien leaders shouted questions and accusations. But underneath the anger, there was a new emotion that most of them had never felt before: fear. Admiral Choi Byung-ho appeared as a hologram above the central platform. He wore the uniform of the human fleet, but it was not the same worn, patched clothing the aliens expected from a defeated enemy. His uniform was clean and new, with decorations the aliens did not recognize. "Greetings, honored representatives," the admiral said formally. "I am speaking to you from the bridge of the human battleship New Sol. We are currently 3 light minutes from your position." The aliens checked their sensors frantically. Their instruments showed no human battleships anywhere near Nexus Prime. The small damaged ships they had seen yesterday were still at their distant positions. "Your sensors cannot detect our vessels," Admiral Choi continued. "We have been studying your technology for 3 years. We know its limitations." General Yoon Hae-rin appeared next to the admiral's hologram. She was a stern-looking woman in military uniform. "Human ground forces are ready to secure any installations that require our attention," she reported. "All civilian populations have been evacuated to safe positions." Director Kang Min-ho materialized as a third hologram. He looked like a businessman, not a military officer. "Human intelligence operations are complete," he announced. "We have full access to all council communication networks and strategic databases." The alien representatives sat in stunned silence as the implications became clear. Everything they thought they knew about the war was wrong. Every advantage they believed they had was an illusion. Supreme Chancellor Crix tried to maintain his authority. "Even if this is true," he said, though his voice shook slightly, "you are still outnumbered. The combined fleets of the Council are vast." Park So-min smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not friendly either. "You are correct that your fleets are vast," she agreed. "But you have made one critical error in your calculations." "What error?" Crix demanded. "You assumed that humanity was fighting alone." The holographic display changed again. New ships appeared on the tactical screens. ships that belonged to no known species, ships using technology that the Council had never seen before. For 3 years, while you were fighting our training squadrons, our real diplomats were making contact with species you did not know existed, species that have been watching the Galactic Council with great interest. The chamber fell completely silent. The alien leaders stared at the tactical displays showing dozens of unknown vessels surrounding their position. Commander Shin Woo-jin appeared as another hologram. "Special operations teams report all objectives secured," he announced. "Council leadership is safe but should avoid any sudden movements." The meaning was clear. The humans had not come to surrender. They had come to demonstrate that the Galactic Council was now completely at their mercy. Park So-min looked around the chamber one more time. "We will recess for 1 hour," she announced. "When we return, we will present our terms for your consideration." The 3 humans stood and walked calmly from the chamber, leaving behind a room full of aliens who were just beginning to understand how badly they had miscalculated. The hour-long recess felt like an eternity to the alien representatives. Emergency communications flooded the council chamber, as each delegation tried to contact their home governments. The responses they received only made their situation worse. "Admiral, our fleet reports multiple unknown vessels approaching the home system." A Vorthak communications officer whispered urgently to his Supreme Chancellor. "The same here," confirmed a Thorian general. "Our border stations are detecting ships we have never seen before." All across the galaxy, the same story was repeating. Mysterious vessels had appeared near every major council world. They maintained safe distances but made no effort to hide their presence. The message was clear. Nowhere was safe. Supreme Chancellor Crix tried to maintain control of the situation. "This is some kind of trick," he insisted to his advisors. "Humans do not have this kind of technology. They are barely out of their home system." But even as he spoke, his confidence was shaking. The tactical displays still showed those impossible ships surrounding Nexus Prime. His sensors could not detect them, but the human holograms had been very specific about their positions. When the humans returned to the chamber, the atmosphere had completely changed. The aliens no longer looked confident or eager. They looked like prey animals who had suddenly realized they were being hunted. Park So-min took her place at the central platform. Dr. Kim Tae-woo activated his tablet, and new holographic displays filled the air above them. This time, the images showed something that made every alien in the room go cold with fear. "For the past 3 years," Park So-min began, "while your military forces were engaged with our training units, our xenopsychology teams were studying you. The display showed detailed psychological profiles of each alien species, not just their military capabilities but their social structures, their fears, their weaknesses, and their decision-making patterns." Professor Nam Ji-young appeared as a hologram. She was an elderly woman with kind eyes that somehow made her words even more frightening. "Each species in the Galactic Council has specific psychological traits," she explained in a gentle voice. "The Vorthak make decisions based on dominance displays. The Zilani value technological superiority above all else. The Thorians respond predictably to resource pressure." The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably as the professor continued. "Once we understood how each species thinks, it became possible to predict their actions with remarkable accuracy. We could manipulate your responses by providing the right stimuli at the right times." Commander Shin Woo-jin materialized next to the professor. "For example," he said, "the attack on Human Colony 7 was not a Vorthak strategic decision. It was the result of intelligence we fed to their scout ships 3 weeks earlier." Supreme Chancellor Crick stood angrily. "You lie! That attack was planned by our finest military minds. Your finest military minds received intelligence reports about human weakness at Colony 7. Commander Shin replied calmly. "Those reports came from our operatives. We wanted you to attack that specific colony at that specific time." Colonel Baek Do-hyun appeared as another hologram. "Colony 7 was actually abandoned 6 months before your attack," he revealed. "The desperate defense you fought was entirely automated. We used the battle to test your ship capabilities and tactical responses." The truth was devastating. Every major council victory had been orchestrated by human intelligence. Every strategic decision had been influenced by false information. For 3 years, the aliens had been dancing to a tune played by their supposed enemies. "This is impossible," whispered the Zilani ambassador. "Our intelligence services would have detected such deception." Dr. Kim Tae-woo adjusted his glasses and spoke with academic precision. Your intelligence services are designed to work against alien minds, he explained. Human cognition follows different patterns. We approach problems from angles you do not expect. The holographic display changed to show communication intercepts. The aliens recognize their own classified messages, their secret planning sessions, their private conversations with allied species. We have been listening to your communications for over 2 years, Dr. Kim continued. Not just official military channels, but personal messages, private meetings, even casual conversations between crew members. Admiral Choi Byung-ho reappeared in the chamber. We know about the Vorthak-Zelani territorial dispute over the Kepler mining zone, he announced. We know about the Thorian Republic's food shortage problems. We know about the secret Kaloran research into banned weapons technology. Each revelation hit the aliens like a physical blow. These were their most closely guarded secrets, known only to their highest government officials. We also know, the Admiral continued, that this war against humanity was really an attempt to unite the Council species against a common enemy. Your own internal conflicts were becoming too dangerous to ignore. The alien leaders looked around the chamber with new suspicion. Their alliance against humanity had been built on mutual distrust and competing interests. Now they were being told that humans knew about every hidden agenda and secret betrayal. Captain Lim Soo-bin appeared as a new hologram. She was young for a human military officer, but she spoke with quiet authority. First contact protocols with the Ashani Federation were completed 14 standard months ago, she reported. The Corvani Empire agreed to mutual defense treaties 8 months ago. The Ythrak Collective signed trade agreements 6 months ago. The alien representatives had never heard of any of these species. The galactic maps they used showed empty space in the regions Captain Lim was describing. You see, Park So-min explained, while you were focused on conquering and controlling known space, we were exploring beyond your borders. The galaxy is much larger than the Galactic Council realizes. Major Park Jae-sung materialized next to the captain. All human civilian populations were successfully relocated to protected systems outside Council territory, he announced. The colonies you thought you were threatening were actually volunteer researchers and military training facilities. The implications were staggering. Everything the aliens thought they knew about human space was wrong. The colonies they had attacked were decoys. The populations they thought they were threatening were safely hidden in systems the Council did not even know existed. Furthermore, Major Park continued, those protected systems now contain the largest industrial base humanity has ever constructed. Our shipbuilding capacity exceeds Council estimates by a factor of 12. Dr. Song Mi-rae appeared as the final hologram. She was a scientist, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had made an important discovery. The quantum communication breakthrough was achieved 18 months ago, she announced. All human forces are now connected by instantaneous communication networks. This was the most shocking revelation yet. Faster-than-light communication was considered impossible by Council science. If humans had achieved it, they possessed technology far beyond anything the aliens had imagined. Every human ship, every base, every operative across the galaxy can communicate in real time, Dr. Song explained. We no longer suffer from the coordination problems that limit all other spacefaring species. Supreme Chancellor Crix found his voice again, though it was much weaker than before. Even if all this is true, he said, you are still one species against 12. Our combined resources are vast, Park So-min nodded politely. You are correct about your resources, she agreed. But you have made several false assumptions about our situation. Director Kang Min-ho reappeared in the chamber. First, he said, you assumed we were fighting alone. Our new allies contribute significant military and industrial capacity to our cause. Second, added Professor Nam Ji-young, you assumed that all Council species would remain loyal to the Alliance. Our psychological analysis suggests that several species are reconsidering their position. Third, continued Commander Shin Woo-jin, you assumed that we needed to match your military strength directly. We have developed strategies that make traditional force comparisons irrelevant. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence as the scope of their miscalculation became clear. They had not been fighting a war against a young, desperate species. They had been playing a game where the humans already knew all the rules and had spent 3 years setting up the board for their own victory. Park So-min looked around the chamber one more time. "We will now present our terms," she announced. "Unlike your ultimatum yesterday, ours comes with a choice. You may accept our proposal and join a new kind of galactic civilization, or you may continue this war against an enemy you never really understood." The aliens waited in terrified silence to hear what humanity would demand from them. The silence in the council chamber was complete. 12 alien species, who had controlled galactic politics for centuries, waited to hear terms from the species they had tried to conquer. The reversal of fortune was so complete that many aliens still could not believe it was real. Park So-min activated her tablet, and a new holographic display appeared. This one showed a detailed map of the galaxy, but it was unlike any map the aliens had ever seen. It included star systems they did not know existed and marked territory, controlled by species they had never encountered. The current Galactic Council controls approximately 37% of inhabited star systems in this galaxy, Park So-min announced. "You believed you represented the majority of galactic civilization. This was incorrect." The alien representative stared at the map in shock. If this information was accurate, their mighty council was actually a small regional power that had been isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Captain Lim Soo-bin appeared as a hologram and began pointing to different regions on the map. "The Ashani Federation alone controls more territory than the entire council," she explained. "The Corvani Empire has been spacefaring for twice as long as the oldest council species. The Ythrak Collective includes over 200 member species." Supreme Chancellor Crix tried to maintain his composure, but his voice shook when he spoke. "If such powers exist, why have we never encountered them?" "Because," Park So-min replied, "they have been avoiding you." The Galactic Council's reputation for aggressive expansion and forced assimilation made peaceful contact impossible. Major Park Jae-sung materialized next to Captain Lim. "The Council's first contact protocols assume that all new species must submit to Council authority," he said. "Most galactic civilizations prefer to avoid such contact entirely." Dr. Song Mi-rae appeared as another hologram. "Humanity's approach to first contact was completely different," she explained. "We offered friendship, trade, and mutual defense agreements without demanding submission or territorial concessions." The implications were staggering. While the Council had been trying to force humanity into submission, humans had been building alliances with powers far greater than anything the Council could imagine. Admiral Choi Byung-ho reappeared in the chamber. "The combined fleet strength of humanity's new allies exceeds Council capabilities by a factor of 8, he announced. "However, they have agreed to allow humanity to handle this situation diplomatically. For now," added General Yoon Hai-rin, materializing beside the Admiral, "our allies are prepared to intervene directly if diplomacy fails." The alien representatives began to whisper frantically among themselves. Emergency communications flew between the chamber and their home governments. The responses they received painted an increasingly desperate picture. "Supreme Chancellor," a Vorthak aide whispered urgently, "our border patrol reports confirm the presence of unknown vessels throughout our territory. They appear to be conducting detailed scans of our defensive installations." Similar reports came from every delegation. The mysterious ships that had appeared near Council worlds were not just watching. They were studying Council military capabilities with the same systematic approach that humans had used during the war. Director Kang Min-ho appeared as a hologram and addressed the growing panic in the chamber. "Your concern is understandable," he said in a calm voice. "Our allies are naturally curious about Council military technology. However, they have strict orders to avoid hostile actions unless attacked first." Colonel Baek Do-hyun materialized next to the director. "We have shared our psychological analysis of Council species with our allies," he announced. "They understand that aggressive behavior is often based on fear rather than malice." This statement had an effect that the humans had clearly intended. The alien representatives realized that their new enemies understood them as well as the humans did. Every tactical advantage, every strategic plan, every psychological weakness had been analyzed and shared. Commander Shin Woo-jin reappeared in the chamber. "Special Operations report that all Council communication networks remain under observation," he announced. "We continue to monitor military activities and government communications throughout Council space." The meaning was clear. Privacy was now a privilege that the Council could lose at any moment. Every military order, every diplomatic message, Every strategic discussion was potentially being monitored by human intelligence. "This is impossible," protested Ambassador Vecht of the Thorians. "Our encryption systems are unbreakable." Dr. Kim Tae-woo looked up from his tablet with the patient expression of a teacher correcting a student. "Your encryption systems are very good," he agreed, "but they were designed by alien minds to protect against alien attack methods. Human cryptography follows different mathematical principles." Professor Nam Ji-young appeared as a hologram beside Dr. Kim. "More importantly," she added, "we do not need to break your encryption to understand your communications. We can predict the content of your messages based on psychological analysis of the senders." She activated a demonstration that made every alien in the chamber go pale. The holographic display showed a Vorthak military communication from just minutes earlier. Before the message was decoded, Professor Nam predicted its exact content based on the psychological profile of the officer who sent it. "When you understand how a species thinks," she explained, "you can predict what they will communicate before they send the message." The demonstration was devastating proof that human intelligence capabilities went far beyond simple code breaking. They had achieved a level of understanding that made traditional security measures useless. Fleet Admiral Oh Sung-ho materialized as a new hologram. He was an older man with a calm presence that somehow made his words more frightening than any threat. "The human battle fleet has completed deployment around Nexus Prime," he announced. "All Council vessels in the area are within optimal firing range." The aliens checked their sensors again, but their instruments still showed only the small, damaged human ships they had seen yesterday. Either their technology was completely inadequate, or the humans had capabilities beyond their understanding. "In addition," Admiral O continued, "human forces have taken position around all major Council installations throughout the galaxy. This includes military bases, industrial centers, and government facilities." Ambassador Han Yu-jin appeared next to the Admiral. She was a diplomat, not a military officer, but her words carried the weight of absolute authority. "Negotiations with neutral species have been completed," she announced. "The Galactic Council is now completely isolated from potential allies." The aliens realized with growing horror that they were trapped. Every escape route had been cut off. Every potential ally had been turned against them. Every strategic advantage had been neutralized. General Ryu Yun-seo materialized as the final hologram. She was clearly a ground combat specialist, and her presence sent a clear message about human capabilities on planetary surfaces. "Human ground forces report ready status across 12 star systems," she announced. "All strategic objectives can be secured within 6 standard hours if necessary." The message was unmistakable. If the Council chose to continue fighting, the war would not last long enough for them to mount any meaningful resistance. Park So-min allowed the weight of these revelations to settle over the chamber before speaking again. "As you can see," she said in the same calm voice she had maintained throughout, "the strategic situation has changed significantly since yesterday. Supreme Chancellor Krix made one last attempt to salvage some dignity for his species." "What do you want from us?" he asked. "That," Park So-min replied, "depends entirely on what you are willing to offer." She activated her tablet, and the holographic display changed to show a simple document. The aliens read it with growing amazement. These were not the harsh terms of conquest they expected. These were proposals for a completely new kind of galactic civilization. "We offer you a choice," Park So-min announced. "You may continue to resist and face the consequences of fighting a war you cannot win. Or you may join us in building something better than the Galactic Council has ever imagined." The alien representatives stared at the terms in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about warfare, diplomacy, and galactic politics had been turned upside down in the space of 2 days. For the first time in their species' history, they were being offered partnership instead of conquest. The question was whether they were wise enough to accept it. Park So-min stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by alien leaders who had spent centuries believing they ruled the galaxy. The holographic document floating above them contained terms that would reshape galactic civilization forever. The silence stretched on as 12 species tried to understand what they were being offered. "The first principle of our proposal," Park So-min began, "is the end of species-based hierarchy in galactic government. No species will be considered superior to another. No species will have automatic authority over others." The alien representatives exchanged shocked glances. The entire structure of the Galactic Council was based on the idea that stronger species naturally ruled weaker ones. It was the foundation of their civilization. Supreme Chancellor Crix found his voice first. "Impossible," he said, though without his earlier confidence. "Some species are naturally more advanced than others. The strong must guide the weak." Dr. Kim Tae-woo looked up from his tablet with the patient expression of a professor addressing a difficult student. "Strength has many forms," he said. "Military power is only one measure of advancement. The Zilani excel at crystal technology. The Thorians are master engineers. The Kalorans have the best mathematical minds in known space. Each species," added Professor Nam Ji-young as her hologram appeared, "has unique capabilities that benefit galactic civilization. Hierarchy based on military strength wastes the potential of billions of intelligent beings." The second principle appeared on the holographic display. Individual rights regardless of species origin. Ambassador Han Yu-jin materialized beside Professor Nam. "Every sentient being will have the right to choose their own government, their own profession, their own place of residence," she explained. "Species membership will not determine individual destiny." This concept was even more revolutionary than the first. Alien society had always been organized around species loyalty. The idea that individuals might choose their own path regardless of what their species leaders decided was almost incomprehensible. "But how would governments function?" asked the Zilani ambassador. "How would decisions be made without clear species representation?" "Through democratic institutions based on individual participation rather than species delegation," Park So-min replied. "We propose a galactic senate where representatives are chosen by the beings they serve, not appointed by species governments." The third principle materialized: cooperative development instead of competitive conquest. Admiral Choi Byung-ho reappeared in the chamber. "Military expansion will be replaced by scientific cooperation," he announced. "Instead of fighting over territory, species will work together to explore new regions of the galaxy." Captain Lim Soo-bin appeared beside the admiral. "Our allies have agreed to share advanced exploration technology with any species that joins the new galactic community," she said. "The galaxy is vast enough for everyone to find new homes without taking them from others." The aliens were struggling to understand this concept. Their entire approach to galactic politics was based on competition for limited resources. The idea that cooperation might be more effective than conquest went against everything they had been taught. The fourth principle appeared: open scientific and technological exchange. Dr. Song Mi-rae materialized with a warm smile that somehow made her words more impressive. "All member species will share scientific discoveries freely," she announced. "Medical advances, engineering breakthroughs, and theoretical discoveries will benefit everyone instead of giving advantages to single species. But our technological superiority is our main advantage," protested a Kaloran scientist. "Why would we give that away?" "Because," Dr. Song replied, "shared knowledge grows faster than hoarded secrets. Human mathematical techniques combined with Kaloran, computational power, and Zilani crystalline technology could achieve breakthroughs none of us could reach alone." The fifth and final principle appeared on the display: peaceful resolution of conflicts through mediation and mutual understanding. General Yoon Hae-rin appeared as a hologram, but instead of discussing military matters, she spoke about peace. "Military forces will be maintained for defense against external threats and natural disasters," she explained. "Internal conflicts will be resolved through negotiation, not warfare." Commander Shin Woo-jin materialized beside the general. "Our intelligence networks will be used to prevent conflicts by identifying problems before they lead to violence," he said. "Early intervention through diplomacy is more effective than military action after wars begin." Supreme Chancellor Crix stared at the five principles for a long time before speaking. "These ideas," he said slowly, "would completely change galactic civilization." "Yes," Park So-min agreed. "They would. But what guarantee do we have that humans would not simply replace the Council as the dominant power?" asked Ambassador Vecht. "Why should we trust that you would follow these principles once you control the galaxy?" Park So-min smiled for the second time since the negotiations began. "Because we will not control the galaxy," she said. "Humanity will be one voice among many in the new galactic community. Fleet Admiral Oh Sung-ho appeared as a hologram. Human military forces will be integrated with Allied fleets under joint command, he announced. No single species will have independent military superiority. Director Kang Min-ho materialized beside the Admiral. Human intelligence capabilities will be shared with all member species, he said. The psychological analysis techniques and communication monitoring systems will be available to everyone for defensive purposes. The aliens realized that the humans were offering to give up the very advantages that had brought them victory. It was either an incredible act of trust or an elaborate deception. How do we know this is not a trick? Demanded the Zilani ambassador. How do we know you will honor these agreements once we accept them? Major Park Jae-sung appeared as a hologram. All human civilian populations remain in protected systems outside Council territory, he announced. These populations will serve as permanent hostages. To ensure human compliance with the new agreements, Colonel Baek Do-hyun materialized next to the Major. Human intelligence networks will be monitored by allied species to prevent abuse, he said. We are accepting the same oversight we propose for others. The scope of the human offer was staggering. They were not just proposing to change galactic civilization, they were offering to risk their own species' survival to guarantee the fairness of the new system. Furthermore, Park So-min continued, species that choose not to join the new galactic community will be left alone. We will not force participation or punish non-members. But you will not permit continued aggression, Admiral Choi added firmly. Species that attack others will face collective response from the entire galactic community. The chamber fell silent as the alien representatives tried to process everything they had heard. In less than 2 days, their understanding of galactic politics had been completely overturned. Supreme Chancellor Crix stood slowly. His 6 legs were unsteady and his voice was much quieter than before. How long do we have to decide? He asked. As long as you need, Park So-min replied. But understand that the new galactic community is forming with or without the Council species. Our allies are already implementing these principles in their own territories. Ambassador Han Yu-jin reappeared in the chamber. 3 more species agreed to join the community while we have been meeting, she announced. The galaxy is changing rapidly. The message was clear. The aliens could join the new order as founding members, or they could find themselves increasingly isolated as other species embraced humanity's vision. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood for the first time since the negotiations began. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had seen war and chosen peace. 3 years ago, he said, you attacked our colonies because you believed we were weak. You were right that we were new to the galaxy. You were wrong about everything else. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of alien leaders who had underestimated humanity so completely. We could have used our advantages to conquer you as you tried to conquer us, he continued. Instead, we offer you partnership. We could have destroyed your fleets as you tried to destroy ours. Instead, we offer you protection. The choice, he concluded, is yours. Park So-min deactivated the holographic display and gathered her materials. We will remain on Nexus Prime for 72 hours, she announced. Any species that wishes to discuss membership in the new galactic community may contact us during that time. The 3 humans stood and bowed politely to the alien assembly. As they walked toward the chamber doors, Dr. Kim Tae-woo paused and turned back. For what it is worth, he said in his gentle professorial voice, we hope you choose to join us. The galaxy is a better place when different species work together instead of fighting each other. The humans left the chamber, leaving behind 12 alien species who faced the most important decision in their civilization's histories. Outside the station, unknown ships waited patiently for their answer. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The question now was whether its member species would help build what came next, or be left behind as the galaxy moved toward a better future without them. In the end, humanity had not won through superior firepower or advanced technology.